call this meeting to order and see that no one is being excused from the meeting today, so that's good. We'll start with adoption of the minutes of the November 24th, 2022 meeting. Are there any errors or omissions that need to be noted on that meeting? And if not, a motion to approve those minutes would be in order. Holly, a motion? Okay, all in favor that we approve those minutes, please indicate. That's carried, thank you. Are there any post-agenda items that need to be brought forward this morning? Seeing none, a motion to adopt the agenda as presented would be in order. Amanda, thank you. All in favor of that motion, please indicate. That's carried, thank you. And down to item number 6, question period or notices of motion. Are there any questions? Anything showing up online, Susan?
No, I have no questions online.
Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 7, the beginning of our meeting here, 7.1 Bylaw 2042-22. Stephanie Hansen and Lurlane. And Stephanie, come on up, thank you. Good morning.
So 2 items on the agenda for discussion today. One of them is the 2023 budget. And usually in conjunction with the adoption of the budget, we also bring forward the schedule of fees bylaw. The fees bylaw, of course, contains the rates in it that support the revenues that are projected in the budget document. What we're asking council to do is give first reading to the schedule of fees bylaw as presented this morning. We anticipate that there's going to be a little bit of fine tuning required yet between first and third reading when that eventually happens. But at least at this point, it would get the proposed rate changes out there for consideration by the public.
Thank you, Lane. Are there any questions or comments with regard to the fee structure? Greg, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Lane. Just wondering, the petroleum tank approval permits, does that include propane also? Is that a propane tank approval also? And if not, I'm wondering if we should have something with regards to that, because there can...
Good question. I'd have to research that to find out. I'm guessing that it would. If it doesn't, it should, because propane is very much in the same category as gasoline.
Dan, please.
I can answer that for you. That falls under the Natural Gas and Propane Code of Canada. So any propane tanks need to be approved with a permit according to the gas code and inspected.
Great.
So they're inspected on a yearly basis, just like these are, one time? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Lynette, please.
Just a clarification, under A, number 14, what is that? It says public circulation services. Page 7 on my paper anyway.
When there's a telecom tower that's proposed, we have to circulate the application to adjacent property owners.
Okay, that answers that. Any other questions? Kelly, please.
If you're ready, I would make a motion to approve the schedule of fees for 2023.
Thank you. Good timing. All in favor of that motion, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to Bylaw 4043-22 meeting procedures, right?
Okay, so Matt and I were both able to participate in a municipal affairs training and information session here the last couple of weeks, and they went through a number of things that need to be reflected in bylaws. What we have before you is amendments to the procedures, the meeting procedures bylaw. For the most part, the changes that we are proposing in here are those that were outlined as required by municipal affairs. Any committee structures or meetings that are set up need to be provided for within a bylaw. So we've included the committee of the whole meetings in the procedures bylaw. And also what we're proposing is that the bylaw be revised to provide for virtual meeting options as well. We're not suggesting that we would resort to virtual meetings only, but at least with it included in the bylaw the way it is, for situations where virtual meetings are required to deal with situations that might arise for the entire group or for individuals, whether it's members of council or individuals that are needing to present, they can do so virtually. So those are the main changes that are proposed in the meeting procedures bylaw.
Okay, thank you. The last 2.5 years have changed some things in terms of our potential procedures, I guess. Any questions? Holly, please.
Good morning. I just had questions around 7.3.10 and 7.3.11. With the banking resolution that now specifies signing authority, so that is, I don't recall that being done in the organizational meeting previously, so is that, did I miss it, or is that actually something new that's been added in?
Usually when there's a change in signing authorities, that's dealt with during the organizational meeting. It should be.
Okay. And then with the 7.3.11, the establishment per diems, travel rates, and subsistence allowance rates, that's announced as it is as that day, and it can be changed, but that is that date, or is that the plan for the year? Because it's I know we just we've seen things change with the government, just a curiosity.
What we have done in the past, the council compensation committee or policy has been brought back for consideration during the organizational meeting on an annual basis. That kind of opens the door for discussions about whether or not the rates are appropriate or if there should be consideration given to updating and changing those rates. The fact that it's dealt with during the organizational meeting doesn't mean that you cannot bring it back and have consideration given to rate changes during the year if there are things that need to be taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Or a motion to approve first reading? Neil, please. That's okay. Motion to approve first reading of bylaw 4043-22. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Wayne. That covers that. Are you taking the, move on to 9.1, sorry, yeah. Motion of the interim budget, right? I'm catching up this morning.
We'll turn this one over to Stephanie.
Okay, please. Stephanie, welcome.
Good morning. So I'm here to ask for council's approval of the 2023 interim budget. As you will recall, we have discussed this on previous meetings, and from the November 14th meeting, we went back and made a few small changes to the budget as a result of the discussions on November 14th, and they have been included in what I am proposing here today. You could look at Appendix G, which will summarize the changes that were factored in from the November 14th meeting. As you'll recall, we will have other changes that will be incorporated into the 2023 final budget once we have numbers earlier in the year. But this just gives us something to work with once January 1st comes along.
Thank you. Stephanie, are there questions? Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, motion to approve first reading would be in order, unless you have questions. If you're still contemplating, Adina, please.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve first reading. All in favor, please indicate. Oops.
Just approve them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, approving the budget, right?
Yeah.
Reading the long line here. Thank you. So everyone's clear, or than I am? Yeah, good. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
I'll get Stuart.
Okay. Yes, we're going to need Stuart Gregg next, right? Where could we move to here? Yeah, let's, while we're waiting for Stuart to come in, let's move to 9.4, motion regarding additional spending request from the Rosemary Sport Court. Matt, you're presenting that, right? Please.
Yeah, so we were notified a little while ago that the sport court project in Rosemary was going to be going over budget. As they got digging around, they found they had to dig more out of the base to get that base established appropriately, as well as just general price increases that don't come as too much of a surprise to us. So we're looking at a request from the village for an additional $20,000 to get that project complete. There's a few photos included there. You can see the great project is shaping up. They'll be back in the spring to finish the surface, and that's the largest piece of what's left there. So we are recommending approval of up to another $20,000 to get this project done, with funding coming out of the recreation fund.
Consistent with the 50% cost share that we've previously agreed to. Kelly, question?
That was my question. In the write-up, it doesn't indicate or refer to any cost sharing on this 20,000. So yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, it does, actually.
Yeah, just under the discussion there, first paragraph, final project costs have been provided by the village at 210, with the request that 50% of the 40,000 increase or the 20,000 be funded from the county's recreation fund. The village is on the hook for the remainder.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Holly, please.
So with all of this funding, is it that they send in invoices to be reimbursed? Is it always the way it's set up, or is it the funding is going out?
That's an excellent question. We wait for the invoices to come in, and then we issue payment based on 50% of the invoices that come in. So there is good accountability coming back from the organizations there.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, please.
Just some clarification. I know there's a cost increase. It'd be kind of nice to see what that cost increase was. Like, she doesn't say here what it is.
It's largely associated with the base work. So when they started ripping off the old surface and looking at putting down the new, they had to dig deeper to get the base to where it would be stable enough to support that finished product up top. So
Quite likely a moisture issue, I would think. Yeah. Okay, Kelly, please.
Another question that came to just mind now is how are they progressing with the land title transfer from the school board to the village?
I will have to ask my counterpart over there. It's my understanding that's done, but I don't want to misspeak, so I'll find out and get back to council with that.
Okay. Thank you. Greg, please.
I'll make the motion to approve this.
Thank you, Greg. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Let's move to item 9.4, request for letter of support from the Brooks Housing Society. Matt, do you have an update for us, or it's just as per the literature or the letter that's been provided? Eh?
Yeah, just looking for a motion of support in support of this request from Brooks Housing Society.
Any comments or approval? Go ahead, please, Ellen.
I'll make the motion to support the letter of support.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 9.6, joint municipal meeting scheduled for December the 15th. Ariana, you've got some notes for us there and give some comments, consideration.
Yeah, so it's the same RFD as last time. I've added a draft agenda from the items you suggested last time. I did update the file just before the meeting because Brooks responded and added Dictum Services Program and Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association. Duchess and Rosemary did not provide any agenda items at this time, and I haven't heard back from Bassano yet, so that's the draft agenda. If you have other items, bring them up now.
Thank you. Can anyone think of some other items that need to be added? Neil and then Kelly, please.
DEID is at this meeting, right?
Nope.
No? Okay, then I don't have an agenda.
I may have an agenda item just after an in-camera discussion that we'll have later, but we can add that. There's time to add that before the end. Kelly?
My thought to help the process out in the meeting, it would be good if we attached not only the community, but maybe the speaker to the item. Because in the past, we've struggled with that. Maybe not recent past, but in the past, who from the county or who from the city is speaking, okay? If you could do that, Ariana, that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? As I said, we can always add some things to the agenda by the end of the day if we need to, or before that's sent out tomorrow, right? Ariana, please.
I think I sent my emails that I'm going to distribute Tuesday the 13th, so there's some time. If you could tell me who's speaking to the county items, that would be good, and I'll follow up with Brooks and figure out their speakers.
Okay, thank you. Discussion on that. Kelly, go ahead, please.
May I suggest that the Bassano project be you on that one for sure?
Okay.
And CDI probably as well.
Okay.
Okay. Neil, Sewa, or yeah.
I think Ray Jessica will cover that better than I would. He's got a really good presentation there, but I'll do it for us if you want.
Yeah, we both have it, so I'm just wondering if you wanted to chime in at
I'll
all.
just chime in with Ray and reaffirm what he says, but I know that he'll put on a really good presentation because I've heard him give it to Danielle already.
Okay, so we'll coordinate that with Neil. Go ahead. Yeah.
And I was thinking Greg
For the
should do
pathway.
Screever pathway, yeah.
Yeah, you're good with that, Greg?
And then the thanks to partners, I think it should come from you as well.
Okay.
If you could give thanks.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that would be most appreciative. And then remind me about who put the aging in place, because I'm not aging, so I don't remember that topic.
I think I kind of was wondering about some of that, but I'm wondering if Amanda's the best one to speak on that, given, you know, the Newell, and I was talking about home care and all those factors, right? But
I think that's part of the Pisano project. That was one of the components of it. Aging in place in the Pisano project, so
Okay.
that could be.
I think it's bigger than just Pisano, though. I think it's community-wide, no? Is it really just focused on Pisano?
It was more of Pisano.
So maybe we could roll those together, Ariana, on the agenda. That way we're not up there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But somehow keeping them separate too, because they may be separate projects. So we want to keep that clear.
Lodges initiative, right?
It's an important component, so it needs to be mentioned. But I think they're very similar. They could be together, but it also needs to be mentioned.
So maybe some scrutiny with regard to some notes highlights that need to be covered in that can be prepped ahead of time, I guess, eh? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good, thank you. Victim Services Program Delivery, that's City Brooks. We will ask for somebody from there and identify a speaker. Okay, I think that's got it covered. Other than future agenda items that may come up in the next few days, we'll highlight both what they are and who will speak to them at that point. Okay? Holly, please.
I'm just wondering if when you're doing your thanks to partners for collaboration, you want to put a little thing in for economic development at the same time. You know, anytime I can mention economic development and working together is always good.
Pitch, yeah, that sounds good. And I think the discussion we'll have, there'll be at least one more agenda item. I think that will have a lot to do with economic development too, so. Okay, anything else? Neil, please.
I'm not sure what you've got in mind, but I think we should bring up irrigation in this. Like, that's the biggest economic development thing in our future. And it's really too bad DID wasn't invited to this. They're the big player, and not being here is not right.
That's the area I'm thinking of. We'll have a discussion on that a little later, and then we can add that, I think, yeah. Okay, anything else? Dan, sorry, yeah. I'm looking at my agenda and
Yeah, no worries. I know we've changed it to the Brooks Newell region for the economic development. I thought there was another one that came up recently. Is this a good point to bring up, that the Brooks Newell region is a good thing to be highlighted throughout all of our planning and whatnot together?
thanks, Greg, and then Neil.
I think, Dan, what we're going to do is we're going to try and work with the city of Brooks on this. I don't want to bring that kind of thing up in this setting, but we're going to work on it within joint services. So that will be coming up. The big one is the other areas that haven't changed their names yet. So we'll be kind of dealing with that on our joint services. Okay.
Good enough. Kelly, please.
This is a question. First question that comes to mind is, was EID invited and turned down because they were there last year? And then the second question is, our big item on our strategic plan is internet. So I guess my question on that is maybe a question to the city. How is their internet coming? I really think we need to keep that on the forefront for our ratepayers.
So an update for broadband would be in order, and we can just determine who's going to just.
Yeah, I don't, from the city perspective, because it doesn't affect us, but I also have a question about why EID is.
Just for clarification, I think we're forgetting an extra meeting that we had last fall. We invited the EID and the city and others to come to a meeting specifically about economic development as it relates to irrigation, to highlight what we see as a priority. That was a meeting prior to the December 15th meeting. It was close to Christmas, but it was, I'm just remembering what happened there. We had an extra meeting. So my understanding is they haven't traditionally been invited to this meeting.
Thank you for that. Okay. Totally fogged over on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no matter how it happened, EID should have been there because it answers economic development, irrigation, Kelly's broadband question, EID net. We dropped the ball here.
Yeah, Matt, please.
So I'd suggest putting that on the agenda, and with all your municipal partners, you can determine who you'd like to invite to these meetings moving forward.
In the future, yeah. So some vision casting in terms of effectiveness in the future is one thing we'll talk about as well. And I would suggest that would be open for discussion as well. So there will be opportunity for us to make the pitch that I think can be influential there. Anything else? The clock is, or the book is still open on this, so if some things occur to us later, we can still have those brought forward to Ariana. Thank you. I think that covers item number 9.6. And 9.8, Bow City School presentation as a function. Actually, I'm not working. Oh, really? Well, thank you. I would have been oblivious to that for the rest of the day had I not been. Thank you. Item number 9.8.1, Bow City Schools presentation. Request for functions of council. I guess that's the bigger question. Are there any? First of all, the Bow City School presentation. As I understand it, a request was made for. Ariana, what was the detail on that? Was it for two of us, or how did that come through?
They were looking for at least one, it was one or two, could have been three. They didn't specify the number, just a couple people to give a presentation to their grades 1 to 3 students, because they're learning about government in Canada, and they wanted to hear from local elected officials.
Okay. Kelly, go ahead.
I just wanted to share that it is part of the curriculum, and Latham Colony has had me out a couple times to this, answer any questions and give a little presentation, and I took county pins, and it was said to me at the time that would be divisional work, that that would be part of my work as a counselor. So that's been in the past. I just wanted to share that.
Okay, thank you. Holly, go ahead.
It doesn't, if it's part of vision work, that's fine for me, but it wouldn't cover for you because it's not your division.
And I don't, if it's up to council, I don't need to be there. I mean, I might be wrong, but as this came to me, I thought they were asking for the reeve to come. And I said, I wouldn't go there with, like I would go with the division representative too. So.
Yeah, but you want to hang out at the colony. Come on, you know that.
Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, well, Ariana, go ahead.
She did specifically ask for the reeve, but she wasn't aware there was a new reeve. But
Pop, you heard that bubble pop. No.
Sorry, a reeve or other counselor.
Yeah. We certainly don't have to send two people. If Holly, if you're willing to cover it, I'm more than good with that. Neil?
When one colony gets something, the others are going to be after it, and you are going to be extremely busy in your area.
Okay, yeah. I'm good, yeah. It's covered. Well, it isn't. It's a function of council. Is it going to be or isn't it? You're saying no? Okay, let's take that off the table. Doesn't need to be. Good, thank you. Any other functions of council anybody's requesting? Dan, please.
I just went to that Innovation Network meeting this week. I can't remember if that was already decided to be a function of council. I don't think it was, but I don't know if we wanted to make it one, that would be appreciated, and if not, that's fine too.
Holly, please.
And explain what it was, Dan. I don't remember.
It was a presentation by a bunch of different outfits that are geared up to help small business, growing businesses, innovating businesses. I did have a decent report on it, but it was actually quite interesting. If there's any new starting businesses with innovative ideas, there's a lot of help out there for them. And we're always talking about how trying to encourage business. There's a lot of help out there, financial and guidance and whatnot, everything included. There's great potential all across the board, and it's all free. That's the biggest thing.
Okay, thank you. So, Neil, please.
Don't we already have that where we can take, what is it, Kelly brought it up before, a couple days a year? I think this is a function of council.
Yeah. Do we go, Dan, go ahead.
Those 2 training days are you get 2 training days. This isn't training, it's so much, but I mean, we could use it as training, use it as one of those days, I'm sure, yeah.
Neil and then Holly.
Well, being that we came out so strong on economic development, I think it's great that you took the initiative to do it. And yeah, if you need a motion to make this a function of council, I will make it.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Kelly, please.
Just a question, who put the workshop on? That's my question.
It was a collaboration between the Brooks Newell Economic Development, or Brooks Newell Region Economic Development, Minisnack College, Alberta Innovates, and Apex Alberta, and National Defense, but I didn't see anybody there.
Okay, thank you. Ready? One more. Go ahead.
So then my follow-up is, will we get a report on this to help us do it? Not in your notes, but awesome. Thank you. Just so we can share the wealth of information that you gleaned. Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. No other functions of council? I'm going to suggest that we move to item number 10, Municipal Services Business, and welcome the Director of Municipal Services, Mr. Mark Arbrecht. Welcome.
That was pretty formal. Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good morning, everyone. You have the report before you. Highlights really, our municipal enforcement officers have been busy on EID lands. This is typically the time of year when they ramp things up through the month of November and whatnot, because they're watching for the hunters that are off trail, trespassing. You don't have permission to be on EID land to hunt. Expect to get a warning notice EID is slowly transitioning. They've been trying to get an online request process in place for people accessing their lands. I don't know if that's always going to apply to the fishermen and stuff, but I'm guessing it's going to be to everyone that's looking to access EID lands, with the exception of those that are grazing cattle and stuff, because you'd already have permission. But that's what they've been out doing, and they're starting to pay attention to the ice fishermen as well for being off trail and stuff. I participated in the CAO Senior Manager Training Session hosted by the AACPO. That was just a little good refresher of what I'm supposed to be doing with our CPOs and about the Community Peace Officer Program through the Solicitor General's office. So that was all right. Fleet services, big thing there is we have been going through the resales process of those fleet trucks with Enterprise. I kind of highlighted it before, but we have been selling the newer model trucks at about $6,000 profit each. My truck was a 2-year-old unit, sold it for $1,000 profit, but it was sold as a package deal with some of the 2021 models. So when the purchasers are looking at these things, sometimes the money that they have and how they look at where they want to tweak their cost of purchase on a unit, that's how they just put an offer in. So really you can take the average of all that to find out what that is, but the program is still strong for us. It's bringing revenue, and we're slowly buying a new truck at a time with that revenue. So that's really great news. Snow, and more snow, something we haven't really been too familiar with for the last decade, I would honestly say. We've had snow events, but to start winter and continue with winter has not really been normal. So taking me back to the 2010, 2011 kind of seasons when we had snow and drifting and all that fun stuff and ice, that's what grader operators, plow trucks operators have been doing. Truck drivers have also been hauling some aggregate to the stockpiles. Maintenance operators keeping up with installing snow fence after the first snow event, but we're working on all those things. And keeping up with downed and damaged signs, things like that. Vegetation management program is looking to kick off. So this is us taking care of trees that are growing in the road allowances that are known to cause problems, cause drifting, that require our equipment to go out and respond. If we can get rid of those kind of nuisance vegetation growths, then we reduce our operating costs moving forward and having to respond to our roads, because quite often our operators drive a number of kilometers before they really have to do anything. If we can alleviate the number of kilometers that they need to drive to respond to that one thing, all the better, saves the taxpayer in the end. In addition to that, we had the one carryover forward project of Range Road 14-3 in Division 10 and 3 there from Township Road 19-3 north to 20-0. We'll look at that in 2023 again. The 6 motor graders that we've had on order, we had confirmation again yesterday. They are still on track for the January, February, and March, April period. Those graders are manufactured down south. They get loaded on a boat and shipped up here from South America. So that's part of the delay, but that's how their manufacturing process is these days. Additionally, the National Safety Code Manual for performance standards applying to all persons responsible for safe operation of commercial vehicles in our organization is being worked on. Kinbrook Island Connection Pathway Partnerships pathway's been cleared. You see that it's getting swept, snow's been cleared, everything's been working great. It hasn't been drifting in near as bad as I anticipated it would, with the path being much lower than what the hill is. I believe all the snow is blowing across the top of it, which is great. Still looking for that second phase. CNWP Phase 2, couple of outstanding easements to be signed, but they're looking at getting some of the work kicked off here before Christmas, and obviously the majority of the work in 2023. Otherwise, performance evaluations took place. We've been really working hard at some of our records management. I know we've gotten into the paper files, the file rooms and stuff here, and we're still working on it this week. A lot of pounds of paper are being removed from this office that are no longer needed to be kept, whether it's a record or a transitory file. That's what we're focused on. So, yeah, fall conference. We were all there. That happened last month. That was great. And that's really the sum of my report. On the municipal load report, update, November, we had 260 permits taken out. So a year-to-date total of 2,290. My estimated year end is going to be looking at 2,498. So we should be up about 15% over last year. So that's good. It means things in our economy are moving. So if there are any questions, I will do my best to respond to council.
Thank you, Mark. Are there questions? Holly, please.
Two questions. The first one, about how many hours are they spending doing patrols in the EID lands right now?
EID kind of hangs on to, like, everybody asks for an average amount of hours per month. EID kind of hangs on to their time to this period of the year. So they're looking at probably about 20 hours per week at least. John and Devin are out, so that could be an actual like 30 hours per week that they're looking at those things, but keeping up with Town of Bazzano, Village of Rosemary and Duchess at the same time, and then trying to get through and be visible on the county roads as well. We've been serving some notices of snow removal and stop pushing it into road allowances, stop pushing it into the roads. It slows service down for the rest of our ratepayers and can also cause hazards, so they're tending to those matters as they need to.
The second question is around the trucks. So normally, last number of years, they've spent a lot of time hauling aggregate to the sites for the spring. When we have a winter like this, doing lots of snow work, is that going to cause backups in the spring or have trouble getting everything moved, or it needs to move during the winter time?
Generally, we've been able to get most of the stockpiling done through the winter months. The thing that happens to us is sometimes the piles freeze up. There is some legislation out there of overhead height falls from how those stacks in the yards can be, and they can't undermine that for the fall hazard, so we'll just move around the pit. But we do occasionally get clumps built up in the trucks that they have to do some extra work to get them busted out and stuff like that. But really the thing that'll slow them down is how many times they need to be on the road plowing snow and tending to ice concerns rather than going from pit to stockpile. And just a reminder for council, I've identified it before. We've been working on reducing our Tilly stockpile. Highway 873 got paved between Highway 1 and the 544. So we're again reducing by about another 25% that's going into that stockpile this year. So we'll be down to about 50% of what we used to normally have in there. As for Rolling Hills, we're going to continue with the 100% just to make sure we can get everything done in the gravel program in a year. And we're really gauging that based on when in the year they're finishing. And this past year, they were done towards the middle of August to beginning of September. Really, we kind of have a month to play with there. So what can we do to keep our equipment moving rather than finding alternative work?
Okay, thank you. Ellen, please.
When there's above average snowfall and drifting snow, I understand it takes the department up to 3 days to clear away those drifts. Now, because of the last incidents in November, I had quite a few calls that people were stuck at home and they got stuck on the road. Does the department ever have a possibility of contracting another unit to help out with drifts and so on?
In the past, we have brought in others to help out with it. Some of the challenging things in our region is that a lot of them don't have wings on their graders, if we're specifically talking gravel roads. But wherever contract assistance is determined to be necessary because we're behind or it's been that significant, we will look at bringing in contracts as best we can. Volker Steven is the only other one in the region that has highway plow trucks. So it's us and us on our roads. And their priorities with Alberta Transportation are Highway 1 and 36. And then they get out to the 3-digit highways after that. So I'd like to remind council that with the events that we've had in November with drifting, you go plow a road, it drifts right back in. Well, we're not turning around and coming back to the same road because we've got 1,500 kilometers of road that we got to get across for everybody. So when those wind events are taking place or when the snow's continuing to fall, lots of times we'll wrap up our day and we just defer to the next day. Or if the winds are significant enough, 50 to 70 kilometer hour gusting, we're not making any progress on anything. We're just costing the taxpayer money. We may actually park the equipment and wait until it's more suitable for us to respond unless there's an absolute need. Highways or paved roads are always tended to, but in the gravel situations and whatnot, sometimes we just have to be a little more patient. And as I'm saying, with that wind blowing, you might as well reset that 3-day clock every time that wind blows. And we're not going to reset from where they started. The same people aren't going to get service first every time. They will continue on from where they left off, and they just got to make that cycle. And that's 3 days to open the road, and then we need another 3 days to go back with the wings on the graders to make that space for that future event.
And we'll have further discussion on this in the next agenda item too, in terms of policy, right? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, a motion that we accept the municipal services report would be in order. Neil, please. Thank you.
Make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Shall we move on to item policy number 10.2, policy review of snow plowing and sanding, please.
I think we can do it. I just opened the doors for that with the question from Councillor Unruh.
Right.
Before you, what you have is the request for decision, and the policy is attached to that with some minor changes, really nothing with respect to service levels on that. Again, the way the policy has worked in the past is we have the priorities, but there's flexibility in there for us to work with what we need to do to respond. Winds blowing different directions, or the north region gets the snow and nothing in the south or east or west, or we're a large region and we don't have the same climate encompass us all the time. So really, the last time policy was adopted by council was in 2014. Number of gravel roads have been upgraded to paved standards, reducing the gravel road winter maintenance costs and adding to the paved road winter maintenance cost side of things. We have not added any new plow trucks to our fleet with the addition of pavement. We've been tending to it with the same, and remind council from our discussion on the gravel road maintenance discussion we had at the committee of the whole previously. We have stepped down from 10 to 8 motor graders over the past decade. We've been running this way since about 2014 with 8 of them. We're running in a contract situation right now with one area of service, and the rest is internal services, and we're getting around. I just thought it was good timing that based on where we're at with November, I think many of our ratepayers aren't used to the winter that we're getting right now, unless this is where it comes in like a lion and leaves like a lamb in March. And we just have to be a little bit patient with where things are at, but it's council's opportunity that if there's a change of level of service that needs to be looked at, I can take that back to my team, and we can bring some options forward to council other than the minor edits that you have in the policy today.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? I have some, but I'll save them until after others. Holly, go ahead, please.
Most of the edits on the policy involve financial and damages. So can you tell me a history of what that has been?
Damages, to the best of my recollection, we put a grader on Joanne Trucking Road one year. Heavy snowfall event, we're trying to peel ice off of the pavement. The rate of speed that they were moving at, they were not paying attention to private property next door, and we took out a good portion of the chain link fence at UFA Farm Center. So we had to replace that. 2010-2011 period, Township Road 20 is 0 between the 873 and One Tree Road, about 3 to 4 feet of snow on the level through that road. We sent the dozer out there to open it up because you're not going to get that open with the motor grader. And we hooked onto the fence and we tore out about a mile of fence. Not the right tool for the job, which is why we bought a large snow blower to be attached to a loader, the loader front mount. And now we blow that snow into the field, but we haven't had that snow since I bought it. So that equipment's doing its job sitting in the shop. Other damage, sometimes tight quarters down Lake Newell Resort, people have some landscaping built out right to the curbside or whatever. We knock out a couple of landscape blocks or something like that. Not a whole lot of damage going on. Sometimes there are claims from the snow being winged back on the gravel roads and stuff, piling up on barbed wire fence. The snow pulls the staples out, the barbed wire falls, and people will phone us and expect us to go fix that. So generally it's damaged fences and posts and stuff.
Thanks. Kelly, please.
I think we've also had the odd snag of a Texas gate on our road. Speaking of those, how are we coming with registering those or getting a handle on where those are on our road?
Engineering and our approvals officer, I believe there's one more round of trying to make contact. I think there's about 30 Texas gates that are outstanding to be signed up. Otherwise, we'll be looking at tearing them out, but I think we'll be addressing you before we take any action.
Okay, thank you. Dan, please.
Just a quick clarification, because I can't exactly remember. Do we have 8 and a contract, which makes 9, or it's 7 and a contract?
7 and a contract.
That's what I thought.
I guess I have a question with regard to this season, and I think you've explained that it's a different start of winter than we've had in the past, but what are our goals in terms of getting roads open? And I have a follow-up comment. I don't think we met but I'm interested to know what the goals are in terms of that. Is it 3 days?
The goal for gravel roads is 3 days. Paved roads, those guys will start at 4 a.m. in the morning and they'll go their 8-10 hours and then we shut down and they start up again the next day. Mm-hmm. And really the thing about 4 a.m. in the morning is their trucks have been sitting in a heated shop. They go out, they're trying to beat the morning commute for everybody going to work, whether it's in Brooks or whatever. Grader operators, I'll take you back to when I first started here. The policy actually said that we would grade all school bus routes first. Now, we asked for the school bus routes from the divisions. It did not come over in one map from Grasslands. It came over in about 64. I don't know how many buses they have, but there was a lot of maps. Maybe it's 32. We cannot possibly open up all the roads for all the school buses because for one area of grading, and I'll reflect in Division 3, there's like 7 school bus routes. So where do we start? We don't have 7 graders to start at the commencement of each of the 7 school bus routes. It's physically not possible. And generally, because the graders are parked outdoors, they're all parked outdoors at a grader shack, we generally don't start those people until about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's about the same time that the school buses are starting to fire up and think about getting on the roads to get the kids to school for 8:30 or whenever their start times are. That was a service level we could not meet. And so I asked council to kindly remove that. We need to start somewhere and finish somewhere, and we'll be as timely as we possibly can. Graders are usually moving about 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers an hour at best, depending on how hard packed that snow is and stuff. How much is on the road. We don't want to be throwing all that gravel in there because we're just trying to get across everything too fast. That's generally where we're at. And again, if the wind is blowing, then we're right back into coming back around to that in about 3 days.
Do we have a standard or are we using technology to identify the areas that will be typically snowed in a snow situation? Because I mean, I hear the comment about 1,500 miles of road, but it isn't 1,500 miles in a snowstorm or after a snowstorm. It's certain areas that are always hit the same way by the wind coming from the direction, whatever the direction it is. And I know that we had some pretty major roads, school bus routes or not, that were 2 weeks. I think they were initially plowed and then another wind event, and then it was at least 2 weeks, and all they had was a farmer's bucket width, 8-foot bucket width out. You wouldn't have got a ambulance or a fire truck down those roads for 2 weeks. And it seems to me that a single pass over some of those, like I like the 3-day option, but we didn't hit that and I understand that this came quickly, but those roads now have drifts piled up that every snow event is, I mean, and sometimes that doesn't happen till January or at all as indicated. How can we address that in a way that in the wintertime hits the problem areas? You know, the 1,500 miles or kilometers, I don't think is a consideration for snow events.
Yeah, so in response to that, I guess first I'm going to say is that some things were identified to our department using Newell Connect or ratepayers phoning the office. Most definitely not all. And I can say that we have staff off for a number of different reasons of absences, and a failure in this system right now, and it's being corrected with my staff. Ratepayers should not be phoning the grader operator for service. County Council supported Newell Connect be put in place as the customer service system for our ratepayers to submit service requests, whether it's plowing snow, grading roads, icy patches on pavement, signs down, or whatever. That is the first major breakdown that I see coming out of numerous elected official areas across the county, is that I'll just phone the grader operator. When you phone the grader operator, he could actually be on vacation. He could be on a leave of absence due to long-term or short-term disability. There's nobody monitoring that person's phone. It's shut off. So your service request is sitting there doing nothing, and it's reflecting poorly on us because the system isn't being leveraged to do what it needs to do, which is inform managers and supervisors so we can direct the workforce. So with that said, we do have some of that happening within our operations right now, and we do have contractors in place that have some experience. Based on the direction of wind, a very experienced operator, and this is kudos to the staff that have been here for an extended period of time, know exactly where they need to go first because they know which roads drift in. For those people that we have right now, they're not familiar. And when the system isn't feeding managers and supervisors, we can't direct them efficiently to get those things open. And so that's where we've really had a challenge with the beginning of winter anyway. And if ratepayers are phoning yourselves, please, all I can do is encourage you to try to direct them, because the sooner it gets there, the sooner it gets to us. Any phone call to you is a delay in service for them because they haven't let us know first. And I'd like to see things escalate up to you when we're not getting to things, but to give us the opportunity first. When it goes to you, and maybe you're busy and you forget about it for a day or something, we've all delayed the service delivery. But really, there's the Newell Connect thing that I wanted to reaffirm here. And then we do have some things going on operationally that if council would like for me to delve into it more, I would kindly ask that we do it in an in-camera session where I can speak to labor matters if that's so desired.
Well said. I think that's good, Mark. Appreciate that explanation. And that sounds reasonable.
And I'm not trying to lay blame on anybody. It's just continued education.
No, I think we have some further discussion we need to have around some of this because, and it's legitimate. It's not complaint based. I think it's service based, and that's what we need to look at. So I think that's well placed. We can deal with some of this on an in-camera basis.
So is that what we would like to do? Is put it on camera, in camera? So
I'd suggest that. Sure.
Any other questions?
Kelly, go ahead.
Yep. Just back to our policy here. And I'm not sure, but you would be able to guide us. The 3 days are not in policy. As a goal, should that not be in policy? If a ratepayer looks up our policy, or if I look up policy, wouldn't that be good information for me to have? And I know it's not been listed before, but as a goal, and it could be listed as a goal in policy, I think that would be informative.
Okay, well, the thing that we have going on right now is with our AVL system, our automatic vehicle locating, which is GPS in each of the equipment. Terry is still working with our new vendor to get the report working to see how much of each of their areas of responsibility have been tended to. It gets to be challenging because what they do in summer is different than what they do in winter, and how do we make those breaks on things as well. If you want to write it in here, then I think I have to have the way of managing to it exactly and being able to update you as to where we're at. And I guess I'm telling you right now, I'm not 100% perfect at being able to report that to you. We're doing our best, and same thing with grading. When we talked about that, I said we can get around about every 20 working days. That's about 95% state right now, but Terry is having some issues with the new system. If we want to move to identifying those specific service levels, then we can definitely look at that with council.
Something to think about, and maybe it's not 3 days in policy, maybe it's 5 days. You know, I'm thinking about comfort level for us as council and ratepayers. That's all.
Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, and I guess one thing that I'll add to that is I know there are other municipalities that have those specific goals identified in their policies, but I also know that those municipalities also have people that are dedicated to patrolling and monitoring the roads to determine where and when dispatch of equipment happens. One such county is on the west side near the mountains, and they literally have a way that they drive around with their 4 road supervisors. That's all that they do. And they literally measure the snow at whatever frequency on a road. And then those people phone the grader operator, the plow truck driver, and say, this is the road you tend to now. We don't employ those people. There's myself, there's our manager of operations, and we have a supervisor of operations as well. Other than that, it is our frontline workers, and we really trust and believe in our staff, and that is something that has been here as long as I have in assisting with keeping costs down for our ratepayers. So those things might come into those conversations if we look to elevate our game here.
I think that's a good explanation. Holly, did you have a question? Or
Well, I was just going to wonder if you should be putting in policy that the way to, is just putting the Newell Connect somewhere so people who do want to know what it is look at, some people do pull up policies, but they know what they're supposed to do. Maybe we should putting it in more visible places.
I think that's all consideration, and I think this is a valuable conversation to have also for education, for us to know what the policy is and what some of the limitations might be. And I'm going to suggest that we defer approval of the policy till we've had a more fulsome discussion on this even later today, and we can come back to it. I think that's a reasonable approach. Appreciate your information and perspective on that, Mark. Thank you. Thank you. With that, we'll move to item 8.1, recognition of donations to fire and emergency services. And I welcome a group of guests to council this morning. And Stuart Luchis, Chief Luchis, you're going to have take us through this. And I'm going to suggest that we have some introductions at the start. Is that a reasonable approach? And then turn it over to you?
For sure, that'd be great.
Thank you. Go ahead, Neil.
Neil Johnson, Division 10. Welcome, guys.
Amanda Philpott, Division 8. Good morning, Ellen Unruh, and I represent the area around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake Newell Resort and Castles.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Kelly Chrisman from Division 6, the west side of the county.
Welcome to all of you. Arno Dirksen from Division 9, the Gem area.
Morning, Matt Fensky, County Administrator.
Good morning, Holly Johnson, Division 4, Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Good morning, Adina Scandrip, Division 2, Tilly area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills area.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Go ahead.
Hello, Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
And I'd ask our guests to introduce yourselves as well, please. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for coming in today. Stuart, if you'd take us through the presentation, please.
Council, thank you very much. I was trying very hard to remember everybody's name back there, but you made it so much easier for me that they did their introductions. So I do appreciate that. Before you today, we have some donations that have come in the last year to the fire service. And the two donations in particular were for us to assist with fire training for this winter. And we have started that fire training already. It started in November and we're going to pick back up in January. So our 1001 level 1 has started. And with that, with our training, I'd first like to start with recognizing CNRL that is behind us back in July. They gave us a donation of $12,500 to help assist with the training of the firefighters. And we also wanted to get vehicle extrication in there as well, just so you're aware of the training that we're trying to accomplish this year and with the new extrication tools that are coming in. And then back in August, we had a concert in our area at the Centennial Regional Arena, the Paul Brandt concert, and we were approached by the Elks, and because it was such a large event, they needed many people to be security. So they had asked us to come in, and if we could assist them with the security, they might be able to secure a bit of a donation for us. So, to partner up with them, I agreed that we would pay our volunteers to go in and actually take part in that security and do it. An incentive for us to get as many people as we needed, because if I remember correctly, Kelly, it was 100 and something we needed. Like it was a very large number that we were looking for to try and secure security. So we did get a great number in from both Brooks and the County of Newell, and in turn, the Elks has turned around and given us a $6,000 donation for training, and we're very, very pleased and happy to see that partnership, and we thank these two groups in particular for helping us along this year and assisting us so that we can continue on making the fire service as strong as it can with our volunteers. And we have a plaque to present to them. If it's okay with council, maybe we'll do the plaque presentation outside with the fire trucks that are going to be sitting there, if that's all right. And then our last donation this year, it was a very unique thing. Armor Building Systems are doing two projects for us currently. They just finished up doing the Rolling Hills renovation at the Rolling Hills Fire Hall, and I'm very, very pleased with what has happened out there. They're done 100%. The project is really close to closing up here. We just need to get some decals on the outside and a few on the inside of the building. And I'm waiting for the plumber to come and put a toilet sink in so we can be 100% functional. So, and no, it's not Dan. So my hope is that by the end of this week, actually, that project, other than the decals, will be 100% wrapped up. So I'm pretty happy with that and glad we got it done before the year end. So, and I thank your support for that as well. But with that, Armor helped us out with that project, as well as the new Patricia Fire Hall project that's coming in. And it's a twofold thing. In the Rolling Hills project, they gave us a donation in kind. They basically tried to keep our numbers down as best as we possibly could with donating the use of their equipments, like the overhead lifts and things like that, rather than charging us out for them. So we were very pleased to see that that had happened, and we thank them for that. That was roughly about a $3,500 savings to us on that project. And then as I was delivering Bow City's fire truck to auction, I pulled into the auction yard and I saw the Patricia fire truck. And I thought it was very, very neat that that Patricia fire truck was there. And I sent it off to all the fire chiefs and said, boy, this is a vintage piece of equipment for the county of Newell. I, in turn, was given a text back and a lot of conversation with myself and the fire chief, Ray, in Patricia, about how he'd like to have that. And he was willing to actually pay the money to try and see if he could get it and things like that. And I said, well, let me see what I can do. And in turn, Armour was kind enough to say, we'll bid on that truck for you. And if we get the truck, we'll donate it back to the Patricia Fire Hall. And that truck will be used to sit in front of the fire hall. The fire chief has assured me that the families are actually going to pitch in a little bit, put some flower beds in the back end of the truck, just to beautify it a little bit. And it kind of showcases the very first fire truck that was purchased in Patricia. And in turn, it kind of beautifies the area and lets everybody know where the fire hall is. So with that, I thank Steve and owner Kent very much for pitching in and helping us out with that. And the final cost for that fire truck was $6,000. And even more to that, it was great that they donated it back to us, but it was great to see that that $6,000 did not go to Anid Auction, did not go to the owner of that fire truck, which was, I think it was Centennial Garage, the ownership of Centennial Garage. All that money was donated to the Legion to help them out. So this project in itself was a pay forward all the way through. That Anid Auction did it for free of charge, didn't take a percentage, and all that money went to the Legion, and then in turn, Armour purchases it and turns it back over to us so that we can keep it for a while here, as long as it keeps looking nice sitting in front of the building. So with that, thank you very much, Armour and Steve, for that donation, and we appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Chris? Go ahead, Dan.
I've seen a lot of what's been going on in that fire hall down in Rolling Hills. And a lot of what I've seen is your truck there and you putting in a lot of labor and effort. So I'd like to say a big thank you to all the extra that you've done down there to make that get done and within budget. So thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks, Stuart. We're going to go to presentations in a minute here, but I'm going to suggest that before we do that, we move to item 9.2. We need a motion for the donation of the Duchess fire engine to the Los Amigos project.
Would you like me to talk to that?
Yeah, please, Stuart.
So in Duchess, it's kind of an exciting time. The new pumper tender engine for Duchess Fire Department is actually due to be at our building here in the next 15 minutes or so. I was told about 11:15 to 11:30 that that new fire engine for the Duchess was going to show up here first. We have some paperwork that we need to do, and tonight I'll be with the fire department guys going over the pump operation of the truck and all that good stuff. With that, there was an old 32-year-old front mount fire truck that was in the Duchess Fire Hall. According to our policies, we don't have trucks that are over 20 years old. And up until this point, that fire truck has been belonging to Duchess themselves. But as part of the fire agreement, when the County of Newell puts a new vehicle into their fire hall, they agree to give us back the fire engine that it's replacing, or the piece of apparatus that it's replacing. So we're left with a front mount fire truck that's 32 years old, and if I'm being honest, it's very, very tired. It's served the community very, very well. And with that, we have a group out of Mexico, or a group from the Rotary Club. They're called the Los Amigos, and they actually collect up fire trucks, fire gear, and things like that. And they take a pilgrimage down to Mexico and drop this off to those communities and areas that are a whole lot less fortunate than we are. And they donate that equipment to them, and it gets refurbished and reused for the next years to come. So that is one option that we could do, and we could donate it to the Los Amigos. The other option is we could take the truck and we could try and sell it. And as you can see in my request for decision, I really don't think there'll be a large dollar value coming back to us because of the age of the truck and the condition it's currently in. So my recommendation to council would be to donate this fire truck to Mexico so it can live on for a little bit longer in a community that could really use it.
Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate that. And I think we've had some presentation with regard to how that ends up, and it's a positive thing for us and for the new recipients. So is there any further discussion or a motion with regard to the recommendation? Greg, please.
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion that we donate that fire truck to the Los Amigos project.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of that motion, please indicate. That's carried, and that completes that, and thank you to the Rotary Club members who've come to represent Rotary and for the work you do. We're going to go outside to make some presentations now. Is that correct? Okay, and I just to wrap this up, I just want to thank CNRL for attending today and recognize the significant role you play in our community with regard to one of our larger ratepayers, and we appreciate that and appreciate the work that you do in the community. Also the Elks, thank you for what you're doing in our community, much appreciated. And Armor Building Systems, thank you for giving back in the same way. And to the Rotary Club, I think this is our moment kind of to acknowledge and celebrate philanthropy and the richness of our community because of volunteers and business people who are willing to give back. So among all of the others that happen in our communities, on a regular basis, thank you for coming in today and representing the causes that you do and for what you do for our community. So thank you very much. Let's take a break. We're going to take a break. I'm going to suggest we take 15 minutes. Okay, a recess for 15 minutes. Thank you. I think we'll call this meeting back to order. Move to item number 9.3, potential representation on Eco Brooks Committee. Lane, please. Welcome again.
So this agenda item dates back to the presentation that took place during the October 6th council meeting, where the Eco Brooks Committee representatives came in and shared a presentation with council on their committee and what they're doing, and also asked council to consider appointing a member from county council to that committee. So I guess we need to have a decision as to whether or not that's something that council wants to formally respond to. In making or in considering this issue, it's certainly possible that there would be future budget implications by participating in it. What amount, or if that is going to be the case, has yet to be determined. But the discussion needs to take place as to whether or not you want to have a member of council formally represented on that committee.
Okay, thank you. Are there comments, perspectives? Lynette, are you? I saw you going for that.
I was waiting for you to finish. I don't feel that we need to put representation on that council, not at this time anyway, or on that committee, unless, I don't know, something changes or the way that they're doing things. I feel like this might almost be a bit of a reiteration of some of the things that the Newell Recycling does as well. Like, so does there really need to be another committee with one of us on it? But that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Greg, please.
What kind of time frame do they meet? Is it once a month? Is it how much of a commitment is it?
Good question. I'm guessing it probably relates in large part on what they have going on. I know that There was a meeting in September. There's another one coming up next week, so possibly every other month. I'm not sure what the schedule is.
Greg and then Kelly, please.
And what kind of funding do we give them?
There hasn't been any commitment made in the past.
Okay. I think just recall the presentation that we had. Okay, Kelly, please.
So I see this committee as an operational board, and typically we are a governance board, whether we're at this level or at our committee levels. And because there's no monies to follow here, I don't believe that this fits our criteria for participation. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Amanda, please.
I would just also like to say the Eco Brooks, the two people that were here at the October 6th meeting, they also sit on Safe Communities committee as well, and that's where I sit, so I'm already there.
Thank you. Okay, I think I hear the genesis of direction. Yeah, Lynette, have you got a motion for us? Or
Yeah, I'll make the
direction for us?
motion that we don't put a representative on that committee.
Bypass this for the moment. All in favor of that, please indicate. Opposed? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Lane. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Let's move to item number 11, post-agenda items. Letter of support for the Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association. We have a request for a letter from there. I think, Neil, you've had some conversation around that and background. There's also a template. I think it's a matter of a decision for a letter to support, but have you got some background for us, Neil?
Yeah, it's a letter of support for a grant to keep this thing going. There's I think you should have all got your emails with all the information there. And basically it's just a template that we sign, all the rest of them sign. Our premier is signed for this area. The town is on top of it. It's just another push to get funding for SAWA. We need this to get the thing going. So, yeah, if you need a motion, I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I think that would give us direction, and that's
Yeah,
good.
the letter
Thank
of
you.
support.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. And that's there. That'll get set up for us, and we'll sign that. Yeah, thanks. Where to next? Information items, payment registers, Q3 financial information package, our strategic priorities chart, letter from Cardston County with regard to rural veterinary shortage, and then also the Newell Regional Landfill transfer, information there with regard to acceptable and unacceptable material. Any comments or questions around any of that? Holly, please.
Last meeting, we had a letter from Cypress County, from their ASB board about a rural veterinarian shortage, and I'm writing a very similar letter to what Cardston County did, that being to give credit to rural students to get rural students into veterinary programs. And I'd like the county to consider sending a letter from the County of Newell saying a very similar message.
Thanks, Holly. Matt, you've got some comments, please?
Yeah, I think that's actually an action item from last meeting. Lane is working on drafting a letter of support in that regard. So that should be coming shortly.
Thanks. Matt, Neil?
Yeah, and joint services is all over this one too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Good. Lynette, please.
The only difference with those two letters, I believe, is the Cypress County one wasn't really directing it towards students, the rural students. So I would really like to see that part into what we do, just giving them more consideration to getting them, because a rural student will be much more likely to come back to rural than others.
Right. That's a good point. Thank you. Oh, Matt, please.
I will just point out to council on item 12.5, the changes to commercial tipping fees. We do have an old agreement with NRS WMA that I'm sending to Sean just to be clear whether that new change is actually in line with this old agreement we have, that commercial haulers will not be charged tipping fees. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Any other questions? Seeing none, I think we can go in camera. We're getting close to the end of our meeting, and prior to lunch, let's go in camera. Oh, was there Amanda?
I just wanted to say I attended the NewGrow this past week, and the results from that are, I know there was $40,000 given away, and that's split between the city of Brooks and the county of Newell. Traditional meat market got $10,000. The PAC got $10,000. Ebony Cosmetic and Hair Lounge, $10,000. TCZ Food Services, $7,000, and Smash Supplements got $3,000. So it was really interesting to see all the pitches, and I'm really excited to see these businesses up and coming. So thank you.
Thank you. Greg, and then Dan.
Just wondering, what proportion was that, the businesses inside the county, which, how many were in Brooks of the new businesses?
Probably about, it looked like there was 9 total businesses, or 10 total businesses, and 2 are out in the county.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
Before we go in camera, I don't think we've taken care of the compensation and councillor payment sheets.
No, I think we're going to do that after our in-camera discussion. If you're good with that? Yeah. Holly, please.
Amanda, were either of the rural businesses successful in receiving funding?
Out of the 40,000, that's the total 40,000. Those 1, 2, 3, 4, those 5. So they always have. They can apply again next year for the money. So that's how it was dispersed this year.
So neither of the winners was a rural business. I'm sorry, the rural businesses were not.
Those were all 5 were City of Brooks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but in the applicants, I saw that the county bakery, the new bakery was on there. So, but they didn't do a presentation. And yeah, so there was just, out of all of them, they're not that they're not applying, they're in there. So that's good to see.
Okay, thank you. Neil, please. Thanks, Amanda.
Just to follow up at Joint Services, we asked for a report of what happened to all the businesses last year, just in case they just took the money and ran or went out of business. Every one of them is still there and apparently successful. So that's kind of cool.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or things to consider before we go in camera? Motion to go in camera would be in order. Amanda, please. Yeah. All in favor that we go in camera? That's carried. Thank you.